Hello all, welcome to today's discussion, and we are talking about data analytics today, especially in related to cycling, racing as well as riding. And today's topic is understanding heart rate data. My name is Siddharth Hivrekar. I organize discussions, workshops, and cycling races over here in Pune. And today we have Dr. Aditya Pongshe with us. He is an anesthetist and a recreational cyclist as well. So welcome, Dr. Aditya Pongshe. And will you be able to introduce yourself in brief?
Yes, my name is Dr. Aditya Pongshe. I am anesthetist by profession, practicing in Pune, and I'm cycling enthusiast, you can say, club level cyclist for last 10 years.
Right.
I started with MTB. Now for last 10 years I am on road bike, and previously before that I used to go for trekking and mountaineering in Himalayas also. So I am in outdoor activities since my childhood.
Perfect. Thanks for that. Let's move on to the topic at hand right now, which is heart rate data monitoring as well as analysis of it. There are different types of data, especially as a cyclist, that you can monitor. Most of them that we think about as cyclists is power as well as heart rate. What are the other types of data that we can monitor?
I mean, most important data during ride to monitor is, of course, heart rate and power. There is no doubt. Other data we can monitor. What is your VO2 max?
Right.
One thing. Then, what is your cadence? Cadence data you can monitor actually during cycling also. And then, of course, how much energy you have consumed, means in joules and all.
Right.
That kind of data you can definitely monitor.
Right. So, just letting everyone know, this particular discussion will be related to heart rate data only. So, how to measure it and how we are going to utilize the data that we have at hand. How is heart rate determined, and why is it important to determine heart rate?
Actually, heart rate is determined not by heart. That is most important thing. Heart rate is not telling you how the condition of your heart. That you must remember. Heart rate on your head unit or wherever when you are riding is showing you the condition of your muscles of cycling. मसलची कंडिशन कशी आहे ते दाखवतो. मसलच्या मेटाबॉलिझम, मसल दमलेला आहे, फटीग आहे का नाही, का इन गुड कंडिशन आहे. इट इज द रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ युअर मसल अँड नॉट रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ युअर तुमचं हार्ट चांगलं आहे का नाही. दॅट इज द बिगेस्ट मिसकन्सेप्ट. हार्ट रेट अनेक जण आपण बघतो, मी हार्ट रेट जास्त झाल्यावर मग मी जरा सायकल हळू केले. अवश्य करा हळू, पण इट इज नॉट बिकॉज माझ्या हार्टला काहीतरी होईल. बेसिकली तुम्ही सायकल हळू करताय कारण हार्ट रेट जास्त झाला. इट इज द रिफ्लेक्शन ऑफ युअर कंडिशन ऑफ मसल. परत मी म्हणतोय, हार्ट रेट मॉनिटरिंग करण्याचं एकमेव कारण आहे की माझा मसल फटीग आहे का माझा मसल चांगला आहे.
बरोबर.
हार्ट इज जस्ट अ पंप. त्याला स्वतःचा हार्ट रेट नसतो. ते सगळं चालतं काय, इट इज डिमांड अँड सप्लाय. when muscle is demanding more energy, then only heart starts beating. आता हे कसं होतं is beyond the scope of this discussion, की there are many mechanisms through which heart knows that muscle is demanding more heart rate. आता हार्ट रेट बेसिकली ठरतो कसा, ज्यावेळेस मसल डिमांड मोर करतो. तो काय डिमांड मोर करतो, ही ट्राईज टू मेक मोर एनर्जी. whenever muscle tries to make more energy from oxygen, so oxygen is the key factor. It demands more oxygen. The हार्टचं काम काय आहे, लंग्स मधला ऑक्सिजन मसलला पोचवणं. हार्ट इज जस्ट अ पंप. लंग्स मध्ये ऑक्सिजन येतो, आपण श्वास घेतो, वी आर ब्रीदिंग. द ऑक्सिजन फ्रॉम द एअर इज ट्रान्सफर्ड in the lungs to the blood. That blood goes into the heart. This is circulation. Now this pump takes this oxygen with oxygenated blood, what we call, to the muscle. Then muscle utilizes oxygen. So that's how oxygen from the air through our muscle, through our heart, goes to the muscle.
बरोबर.
So when this demand increases, heart rate increases. When this demand from the muscle decreases, heart rate decreases. So it is basically a parameter which we are monitoring is how your muscle is working.
बरोबर.
Suppose muscle is fatigue, coming to the point. Fatigue muscle never demands more oxygen.
Right.
Because there is no energy production, muscle is fatigued, whatever is available is okay with it. Whatever oxygen heart is supplying, he is saying this is perfect for me. So whenever towards the end of your long ride, your muscle gets fatigued. If you see, then your heart rate drops. It is not the other way around. Just because your heart rate is not able to pump more blood, that's why I am not able to paddle or produce more wattage. That is not the case. It is exactly the other way around.
बरोबर.
Your muscle is fatigued. That's why it is not asking the heart for more oxygen and indirectly for more heart rate
बरोबर.
to provide that oxygen.
राईट. आणि बरेच वेळा मला असं पण जाणवतं, एस्पेशली जेव्हा मी लॉंग राईड्स करतो, म्हणजे 6 तास 7 तास 8 तासाच्या, त्याच्यानंतर माझा जो हार्ट रेट असतो आफ्टर कम्प्लिटिंग द राईड इट स्टील एलिव्हेटेड, म्हणजे तो थोडासा नेहमीपेक्षा जास्ती वाटतो मला. तर त्याच्याबद्दल तुम्ही काय सांगू शकाल का?
ॲक्च्युली तुझी राईड किती मोठी होतीये,
हां.
इट इज बेसिकली ॲब्सोल्युटली नॉर्मल थिंग. इट इज
बरं.
ॲब्सोल्युटली फिजियोलॉजिकल. वेन यू आर ऑन लॉंग राईड, यू आर exerting yourself say for 4 hours, 5 hours, even 2 hours also.
बरं.
त्याच्यानंतर तू किती इंटेन्सिटी आहे आणि किती ड्युरेशन आहे याच्यावर तुझं टोटल कम्प्लीट मेटाबॉलिझम ऑफ युअर बॉडी, नॉट ओनली ऑफ युअर मसल्स इज ऑल्सो फटीग. The metabolism goes on, the energy requirement of your body, basic energy requirement, just for recovery and everything. So the metabolism takes at least 2 hours, 3 hours to come back to normal.
Okay.
So even suppose तू राईड फिनिश केली त्यावेळेस तुझा हार्ट रेट असेल समजा 750, it will come down to your resting heart rate. Forget about resting heart rate, it will take few hours to come back to even 80 to 70 also. Complete bodyची रिकव्हरी असते ती. संपूर्ण बॉडी इज इन हाय एनर्जी कन्झम्पशन मोड.
राईट.
So actually, even if you are not exerting yourself, your fat is being mobilized
Right.
for that particular energy requirement of your body.
Right.
So it is absolutely normal. Even 2 hours ride can take you around next 2 hours to come back to absolutely normal. Again, all your glycogen stores are replenishing. Everything is replenishing. So even that requires energy.
बरोबर.
So that requires oxygen. So it is continuously provided by oxygen. अरे तुला नुसता ताप आला, थोडासा फिवरिश वाटलं तरी हार्ट रेट जास्त जातो.
बरोबर.
बिकॉज मेटाबॉलिझम वाढलाय. So whenever metabolism increases, heart rate goes on increasing.
Okay. There are various types of terms that we associate with heart rate data, maximum heart rate or resting heart rate. So will you be able to just briefly let us know what those are?
So I think Siddharth, before going into actual what is the meaning of each term of heart rate, I think it is very important to understand how heart rate is determined by the body.
Okay.
The main thing regarding heart rate is heart will not determine its rate by itself.
Right.
It is actually, if you ask me, it is the body which demands some amount of oxygen from heart. Means oxygen is carried from lungs, from air to different tissues by blood. And actually amount of oxygen required by the body, that is provided with the heart. So if you require more amount of oxygen, then your heart will start beating faster.
Right.
It is very simple. So it is basically demand and supply.
Perfect.
So heart rate, basically heart, consider it as a pump.
Right.
Now whenever you are resting, you are doing nothing, still to keep you alive, fair amount of energy is required.
Right.
That is known as basal metabolic rate, you can say BMR.
Okay.
So you require around 2000 calories just doing nothing.
Right.
If you are say around 30 years old,
For every day.
For every day.
Right.
2000 calorie you have to burn. I'm grossly speaking.
Right.
So for these 2000 calories to burn, you require certain amount of oxygen that is provided by heart.
Right.
So it is at its minimum when you are sleeping.
Right.
So energy required is absolutely minimum. So whatever your heart rate early in the morning, during sleep, or just before you get up from your bed, that is your resting heart rate. That is very important. So in athlete, when the heart is powerful, when heart beats, it that is known as stroke volume. One beat pushes some amount of blood. If you are a well trained athlete, that will be more.
Right.
If you are not well trained athlete, the average common man, it will be less. But the amount required by the body will be same. So you will require more beats per minute for a common man, but its athlete you will require less
Right.
beats per minute. So that is your heart rate at rest. So it is known as resting heart rate.
Okay.
So that is basic heart rate.
Basically.
So as you start exercising, so your muscle starts demanding more amount of blood. Now that more amount of blood is provided by heart. There are many factors which come into play that is beyond scope of this discussion how it happens. But whenever metabolism increases, like when you are doing exercise, then muscle asks for more amount of oxygen to create more energy.
Right.
So heart starts beating faster.
Okay.
So the upper limit is your maximum heart rate max.
Okay.
That depends upon person to person and age to age and even gender to gender.
Okay.
So the typical rule of thumb for that particular thing to calculate is 220 minus your age. Everyone knows this.
Right.
That is the maximum heart rate you can go.
Right.
Theoretically. Practically you can, if you are well trained athlete, practically you can go much beyond that also.
Right.
So theoretically 220 minus your age. Suppose now your age is 30. 220 minus 30 means 190. So in any case you should reach 190. My age is 60. So 220 minus my age is 60 is I should reach 160 maximum heart rate. But by training it can go up. So that is your maximum heart rate.
Right.
So maximum heart rate is demanded where you are really doing your exercise to the limit.
So
to the limit means you cannot do anything more than that.
Right. So if we are sprinting for the final finish, that would be
Yes.
the maximum heart rate for us.
So maximum heart rate tolerance for any athlete is not more than say 12 seconds, or with really well trained elite athlete you can say maximum around 30 to 40 seconds.
Oh.
Definitely not more than that.
Right. And there are another two terms that we actually associate a lot with heart rate data, which is LTHR, and another one is recovery heart rate.
So LTHR is the main thing.
Right.
Where we are going to concentrate on this discussion. Now this LTHR is lactate threshold heart rate.
Right.
So before actually LTHR, we must consider how energy is produced in the body.
Okay.
So because why I am shifting little bit to energy production is because this LTHR, the full form is lactate threshold. Now this lactate term is very much coupled with energy production.
Okay.
So what happens whenever you start producing energy, I mean just lifting of this thing or lifting of table, so that is the energy is required from the muscle for that.
Right.
So there are basic three pathways for energy production.
Okay.
Number one pathway is instantaneous energy. Instantaneous means you will get it immediately. That is known as creatine phosphate. You just remember this.
Okay.
CP. Now this energy production will last only for a couple of seconds, say around 15 to 20 seconds.
Okay.
Not more than that.
Okay.
That is basically completely anaerobic. Anaerobic means, and now this word will come very frequently, aerobic and anaerobic. Anaerobic means the energy production where no oxygen is required.
Right, right.
It is just a stored energy in your muscle in form of ATP, broadly you can say.
Okay.
That is the final unit of energy production, and that is a just blast of ATP, and you will get tremendous amount of energy instantaneously.
Right.
But only for few seconds.
Few seconds. Okay.
So that is known as CP.
Okay.
Creatine, phosphocreatine or creatine phosphate, whatever you call it, is known as phosphocreatine pathway.
Okay.
So that is only for a few seconds.
Right.
Then comes glycolytic pathway.
Okay.
Glycolytic means glucose is consumed for energy production.
Right.
Now the peculiarity of glucose is you can use glucose with oxygen or without oxygen also.
Right. Okay.
With oxygen, if you are utilizing glucose, it will give you 38 molecules of ATP,
Okay.
which is the final unit. 38, you can say 32 to 38.
Okay.
With
Oxygen.
anaerobic,
Right.
just a
Without-
blast of energy, you can get it from this also.
Okay.
You will get only 2.
Okay.
So it is not very efficient way.
Right.
But the positive point is for those 2 ATP, you will not require again oxygen.
Right.
So final sprinting,
Right.
during finish of the race, you require all these things.
Okay.
And the third is lipid metabolism or fat metabolism. Means you get more amount of energy, but energy production is very slow, but it is indefinite.
Right.
Now there is limit for this. Here it is in seconds. In glycolytic pathway, it is around, say, for few hours, like half an hour to 2 hours, 3 hours. If you want to sustain in that particular pathway, then you have to provide continuous source of glucose. That is our energy drink. We keep it while riding.
Right.
Whenever in this second pathway, which is important, this is for endurance riders, fat metabolism, it is always coupled with glycolytic pathway. Glucose is again required in this thing also.
Right.
But major energy is taken out from
Fats.
Now here in this glycolytic pathway, what happens is basically glucose is consumed, but there is an option, aerobic and non-aerobic.
Right.
Whenever glucose is consumed anaerobically, then lactate is produced. Now here comes the lactate threshold heart rate.
Right.
Now when you start accumulating this lactate at particular time, that particular heart rate is lactate tolerance heart rate.
Right.
So why that is important? So as far as possible, aerobic zone for glucose consumption is good. So you push yourself to the limit where you are utilizing glucose aerobically. As far as possible, if you burn glucose aerobically, you will get more amount of energy.
Right.
Once you shift yourself to anaerobic, still you are consuming glucose only, but now anaerobically.
Right.
So you are getting little less energy, but there will be blast, but
The lactate produced.
lactate production and lactate accumulation will start.
Right.
So at that particular effort, that heart rate during that effort is known as lactate tolerance heart rate.
Right.
So how to measure that? That is most productive heart rate. That is the limit of your heart rate at which you can sustain that particular energy production. You can keep yourself going at LTHR for hours, minimum for 1 hour, maybe in trained at little more than that.
Right.
So that is your benchmark
Right.
of what is your lactate tolerance heart rate. So you cannot go on increasing that benchmark. Say my lactate tolerance heart rate is 172, but by doing training at lactate threshold, at that particular heart rate, I am not going to increase my lactate tolerance heart rate as such. What I will be trained will be I will increase my power day by day at that particular heart rate. My heart rate will remain 172 only, but the power at 172 before training is say 130 watt. But after training at 172, I will be producing power like 170. After few months later, I may be producing power at same lactate threshold
Right.
heart rate at 172. It will go to 190.
Right.
So that is the importance of lactate threshold. That is your lactate threshold heart rate. That is a benchmark. On that benchmark of lactate threshold, you will design your training. If your heart rate training zone, so LTHR also corresponds with your FTP. If you take out your power at the same time, it will be exactly your FTP. You will be sustaining your FTP or LTHR say for 1 hour.
Okay.
So that is a correlation between FTP, functional threshold power.
Right.
Again, that threshold is lactate threshold.
Right.
That is a functional threshold power. It is known as FTP, which corresponds to your LTHR at the same time.
At the same time.